Hi everyone, and welcome to Sunday, Super Sunday, with Nareen Saigutamas. I am Nareen, and this Super Sunday, I definitely want to talk about all of the different things that went on yesterday. Um, like I mentioned in yesterday's video, it was Infusion Day. So, as it happens every 6 months, I do get um, the rituximab infusion, and because I do have a monthly thing of vitamin B12, I also decided to get that. So now, normally, the days that I have to get both rituximab and vitamin B12 ends up being a fairly long day, right? I mean, both of these infusions usually take quite a bit of time. I think rituximab has, I mean, on paper it says that it's supposed to take 8 hours. I think I've gotten it reduced to about 6. And then of course we have the B12, which is right now at around the 4 to 5 hour mark. So needless to say, I was at the hospital for 11 hours. So so I started the day off early, ended the day off at a later time, and by the time I got home it was already well past dinner time. And funnily enough, I even left my phone in the cab in the Uber, and had to get it back. But obviously, considering I am recording this video, it is with me. But what else do I want to talk about? I mean, I think it was very interesting that this time around, rather than have the rituximab before the vitamin B12, um, you know, they pretty much switched it up. They gave me the B12 first, which was different. I think just because B12 definitely feels, at least for me, like a rush of energy. I definitely felt that a lot of times. I was able to walk all the way to the washroom by myself without much hand holding or leading, which was, honestly, it felt pretty great to be able to do that. And not only that, like I mentioned many a times before, that my left leg was generally feeling very stiff in the United States, and it really wasn't feeling that stiff, especially then. And considering I am taking some medication for my spasticity, which also tends to get a little worse as a result of one medication I take for walking, and it also supposedly helps with my oscillopsia, and that is dalfampidine. I think I am definitely noticing that the movement, the motion of my left leg has become a lot more fluid. There is still a little bit of spasticity. I do still feel that it can spasm at any time, but the movement's a lot more fluid. I mean, I can actually feel that it's not a jerking motion when I lift my leg up and put it down, especially on my left side. And that is a huge plus. And definitely, considering that I got the vitamin B12 first, being able to walk to the washroom, coming back, going to the washroom, seeing Barbie or Hello Kitty's washroom in the bathroom as a result of the B12, and then coming back, it did feel very did feel amazing to an extent. And I do hope that the medication that I am taking for this spasticity, I will definitely get you the name as soon as possible. Hopefully tomorrow, if I can read the name of the medication. so that I can share that information as well. And obviously, there will be a lot more information regarding treatments that I've had on Tuesday, because Tuesdays are now devoted to treatments that I've had. So considering all of that happened, it was generally, I would say, it was definitely one of the better ones. Also considering that I did not have the harder medication, I did not have the rituximab at first. I was able to rest for a very long time during the infusion, especially considering that the first 3 to 4 hours just went for the B12. So it was, I would say it was pretty restful, at least for that point of time. And then the rituximab, I normally do not notice any side effects as such, but usually one thing I do know, that my energy levels do go down a little bit during the rituximab. Beforehand I do get a little bit of steroids injected, and that is just to prepare my body for the rituximab infusion. So usually the steroids do compensate for the load that the rituximab takes on the body, and definitely felt that it was taking a load on my body. And definitely towards the end, now this could have been more just because the day was so long, right? I pretty much woke up, I want to say, around 5:45 in the morning. Maybe it was just because it had already been close to 14-15 hours that I had been up, that I was feeling tired, or maybe it was the rituximab that was getting me a little more tired towards the end. But yeah, I definitely did notice just getting tired, being a little more unaware of my surroundings, at least as much as I was in the morning time. So that was one thing I definitely noticed. And I would also say that but I definitely say that this infusion was a lot better in certain ways. I think the fact that considering there was no traffic on the road, which honestly is probably the biggest victory in all of this, in the entire day, to be perfectly honest, because there was no traffic in the morning. We managed to reach the hospital in about half an hour. Normally it takes us anywhere between 1 to 2 hours in the mornings. Because of that, I'd say the day just started off on such a high note that even when I was getting a little lower towards the end of the day, I was still pretty much on that high of just having had a great travel to the to the hospital. So that was one thing that I definitely do want to say was, so it was generally a pretty good day. So I would definitely recommend it, or at least I would say that in terms of all of my infusions, I'd say this was probably one of the best experiences I've had with my infusion. And this is and doing 2 infusions at one point, that hasn't happened for a very long time. Normally at the early parts, when I would get rituximab, like the same dose of rituximab in 2 phases, that would actually require me staying over at the hospital, so actually admitting myself to the hospital. So that is something that I used to do a very long time ago. Now all I pretty much do is just going to the daycare and I get both both doses in just one bottle, and so it ends up being a lot faster of a turnaround now. So so that is definitely, in terms of having those two consecutive uh, infusions, I'd say this was probably one of the better experiences I've had. uh, so it was a day full of wins, and I'd say even when I was getting a little lower towards the end of the day, it also had to pretty much do with the fact that the daycare had pretty much emptied out by the time that I was being done, right? It had emptied out, I want to say, 2 to 3 hours before I got done, so there was quite a bit of time when there was no other activity besides just whatever was happening with me, right, at my station. So as a result, at that point in time, obviously when you're alone in that room, regardless of whether or not you talk to people, it definitely that gets you, the solitude definitely gets you a little lower on your energy. So I definitely want to say that that would also be part of the reason that I started feeling just a little worse for wear. But I'd say overall it was probably a really good experience. I think I would definitely, the next time I am getting a rituximab alongside my B12, um, I think I'll probably even try to stagger the two so that I'm not spending so much time at the hospital. Right, just come in, get one IV, and then just leave, rather than take two, because it does, it is a very long affair then. So that is something that I might try out next time, but that is going to be in 6 months, so that is, you can count on it being at least 180, 749, so at least 189 or 182 days away. So there is plenty of time for that to get where we need to go. And of course this definitely this channel will probably change a bit to a lot, right? I mean, the channel has already changed so much since the time I've started, 77 days ago, I want to say. So let's see how much it changes. And of course, with that being said, the question is to you now. I know that a lot of people don't normally have had long infusions at the hospital, but if you have experienced it, and I'm not only talking to multiple sclerosis patients or other autoimmune patients, but other patients as well who have had long long infusions, how did what was how was your energy level during the infusion, right? Did you have times where it felt better, like it started off great and then it ended off like slightly lower or very low, or by the end you were pretty much done for? So yeah, do share what were some of your high points or low points when it comes to infusions, right? Because infusions can go whichever way. A lot of times it's because the infusions do concern much stronger medication. It definitely does end up having a toll on your body, so it would be great to get your inputs, get your insights, get your experiences, of course continue the conversation. So Thank you so much. I hope you've had a great weekend. And with that said, let's start off next week very strong. Good night.